story. The day history began to lie. You're sitting in an old library. It's raining outside, and the sound of the drops hits the glass like a metronome. In front of you is a thick book, The Truth About World War II. You open the first page, and after a couple of minutes, you realize something's wrong. Too smooth, too correct, too familiar. And suddenly, a voice behind you. Do you really think that's how it all happened? You turn around. No one. But the pages begin to turn on their own. Chapter 1. The Myth of the Invincible Blitzkrieg. Before your eyes is Europe in 1940. Tanks, planes, speed. It seems like Germany was an invincible machine. But the voice returns. What if it's not strength, but the illusion of speed? You see details that are often overlooked. France fell not only because of German strength, but because of command errors. German communications frequently broke down. Many operations were based on risk, not calculation. And for the first time you understand, Blitzkrieg isn't magic. It was an all-in gamble that could have failed. Chapter 2. The Myth of General Frost. Now you're in winter. The Eastern Front. Snow, icy wind. You've always been told winter defeated the Germans, but you begin to see something else. Winter hit everyone, not just Germany. The Soviet army adapted faster. The problem wasn't the cold, but logistics and miscalculations. You see soldiers standing in the freezing cold with equally frozen hands, and you understand, winter doesn't win wars. People do. Chapter 3. The Myth of One Decisive Battle. The Battle of Stalingrad appears before you. You've always been told it was a turning point, and that's true. But not entirely. The voice grows quieter. What if a turning point isn't a moment, but a process? You see, the economy had already begun to outweigh the odds. Germany was fighting on too many fronts. Resources were running low long before Stalingrad. And suddenly everything changes. It wasn't one battle that saved the world. It was thousands of decisions, mistakes, and sacrifices. Chapter 4. The Myth of Technological Superiority. Tanks appear before you Tiger the First. Powerful, terrifying, a symbol of Germany's strength. But then you see a simple tank next to it, a T-34, and the voice says, what's more important? A perfect weapon or one that can be made thousands of times? You understand, German tanks were complex and expensive. Soviet tanks were simple and mass-produced. The war is won not by the best tank, but by the one that's available at the right moment. Chapter 5. The Myth of Good and Evil Without Shades. Now everything becomes more complicated. You see the Allies. You see the heroes. But then the bombing of cities. Before you, the firebombing of Dresden. Fire, destruction, civilians. The voice no longer sounds confident. History loves simple answers. But people are more complex. You understand. War is not a movie with clear roles. It is chaos, where even the right side does terrible things. Chapter 6. The Myth of Hitler as Genius. Before you, Adolf Hitler. You've always been told he was a strategic genius, but the pages reveal something else. He ignored the generals. He made emotional decisions. He interfered with operations and ruined plans. You understand. Sometimes it's easier to explain history away as genius than to acknowledge chaos and mistakes. Ending. The most dangerous myth. The book closes itself. Silence. And the voice speaks one last time. The most dangerous myth is that you already know everything. You leave the library. The rain has stopped. The world is the same, but now you understand. History isn't a set of facts. It's how they're told. And if you don't ask questions, you can live your life believing a beautiful but convenient lie. Story: The Day History Began to Lie, Part 2. You were already leaving the library, remember. The rain had stopped. The air was clearer. It seemed like everything was behind us. But in your pocket was that same book. You hadn't opened it yet, and suddenly the pages began to rustle. You stopped under a street lamp, and the voice returned. Are we finished? Do you really think so? You slowly opened the book again. Chapter 7. The Myth of the USSR Won by Numbers Alone. Before you again was the Eastern Front. Mud, screams, tanks in the smoke. You've always heard. The Soviets simply pelted the enemy with men. But now the picture unfolds differently. You see evacuation of factories beyond the Urals, accelerated production, wise use of reserves. Generals appear: Georgy Zhukov, Konstantin Rokossovsky, and a voice says, "This is not chaos. This is a system that learned faster than the enemy." Yes, the losses were enormous. That's a fact. But you understand the main thing. Victory is not just numbers. It is adaptation plus industry plus strategy. Chapter 8. The Myth of the U.S. Won the War Alone. Now you are transported to another world. Factories. Assembly lines. Planes roll off the lines, one after another. Before you is the American industrial machine, and a voice whispers, they didn't fight first, but when they did, they changed everything. You see Lend-Lease equipment, food, fuel, Allied support, a war on two oceans. But then comes the other side. The U.S. didn't suffer the same losses as the USSR, entered later, acted in a coalition. And you understand, no country won this war alone. Chapter 9. The myth of Japan surrendered only because of the atomic bomb. Before you, there's a flash. The atomic bombing of Hiroshima. Then a second. The atomic bombing of Nagasaki. You've always been told. That's what forced Japan to surrender. But the voice gets harsher. What if that's only part of the truth? You see, the USSR's entry into the war against Japan, a ruined economy, a blockade and exhaustion. And for the first time, you understand. The decision to surrender is a combination of factors, not a single blow. Chapter 10. The Myth of the Soldiers Who Were Not Afraid. You find yourself in a trench. Next to you is a young soldier. He's trembling. You look into his eyes and realize he's afraid. A quiet voice. Heroism is not the absence of fear. You see, panic attacks, flight, psychological breakdowns. And you understand, most soldiers are not machines. They are simply people who do the impossible. Chapter 11. The Myth of Perfect Discipline. Before you is an army. Formation, order, commands. But then the picture breaks down. Desertion, chaos at the front, officer errors. You understand. The army is not a perfect mechanism. It's a huge system with constant failures. Chapter 12. The Myth of the Intelligence That Knew Everything. Now you're in a dark room. Maps, radio intercepts. In front of you is the Enigma machine. You heard it was cracked, and that decided the war. But a voice says, information is not victory, it's opportunity. You see interpretation errors, ignoring data, delays, even knowing the truth you can lose. Chapter 13. The myth of the weapon that could change everything. In front of you is a rocket of V2, futuristic, scary, dangerous. You've always been told, if Germany had more time. But you see, high cost, low effectiveness, limited impact, and you understand, miracle weapons are often a desperate attempt to change the inevitable. Chapter 14. The myth of a quick victory. You look at a map of the war. It goes on and on and on. A voice asks, why did everyone think the war would end quickly? You see, underestimating the enemy